The first time I noticed something was wrong, or maybe different, was the morning I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror and didn't immediately recognize the person staring back at me. I remember gripping the edge of the sink, knuckles whitening, my heart thudding like it was trying to escape my chest. My face looked softer somehow. Not drastically different, not enough that anyone else might comment right away, but enough that I could feel it. My skin looked smoother, my eyes, gentler. Even my expression felt unfamiliar, like it belonged to someone who felt things more deeply than I ever had. I leaned closer, searching for an explanation. Lack of sleep? Stress? Maybe bad lighting. But deep down, a quiet voice whispered a terrifying thought. This is real. The pills sat in the cabinet behind me, innocent-looking, tucked into an old vitamin bottle. I hadn't meant for this to happen. Or at least, not like this. Not so fast. Not so undeniably. Okay, I muttered to myself, forcing a laugh that sounded brittle even to my own ears. You're imagining things. But as I straightened up, the fabric of my t-shirt brushed against my chest in a way that made me freeze. A strange sensitivity bloomed where there had never been one before. I sucked in a breath, equal parts fear and curiosity swirling together until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. This was the moment everything changed. My normal life didn't pause just because my body had decided to rewrite the rules. I still had work. Still had errands. Still had a marriage. At breakfast, my wife sat across from me, scrolling on her phone like any other morning. The smell of coffee filled the kitchen, warm and grounding. I watched her over the rim of my mug, wondering if she could tell. If she could see it already. You okay? She asked without looking up. Yeah, I said too quickly. Then, softer, just tired. She glanced at me then, really looked, and something unreadable flickered across her face. Not suspicion. More like, noticing. The kind of look you give when something is slightly out of place but you haven't figured out why yet. At work, the disruption was worse. People stared. Not openly, nothing so obvious. But conversations paused half a second longer than usual. A coworker asked if I'd changed my skincare routine. Another joked that I was aging backwards. I laughed along, each chuckle tightening the knot in my stomach. By lunchtime, I felt exposed, like everyone could sense the shift even if they didn't understand it. I hid in a bathroom stall, staring at my hands. They looked the same. Felt the same. And yet, I was hyper-aware of every movement, every sensation, like my body was quietly tuning itself to a different frequency. When I got home that evening, my wife was waiting. We need to talk, she said gently. Those 4 words hit harder than any accusation could have. I sat down, heart racing, prepared for anger, confusion, maybe even betrayal. But her voice was calm. Curious. Concerned. You've seemed different lately, she said. Not bad. Just different. And I don't want to guess. The pills felt heavier in my pocket than they ever had before. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I admitted. I just wanted to understand something about myself. She listened. She didn't interrupt. And when I finally ran out of words, she reached for my hand. Then let's understand it together, she said. I cried that night. Quietly. Relieved and terrified all at once. The exploration started in secret, even though the secret was already half shared. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I stood in front of the mirror again. This time, I didn't rush. I studied myself like a stranger I wanted to befriend. I noticed how my posture had changed, how I held my shoulders a little differently. How emotions sat closer to the surface now, shimmering just beneath my skin. I tried on clothes that weren't mine. Soft fabrics. Gentle colors. Nothing dramatic, just enough to feel the difference. The way the material moved when I walked. The way it made me stand taller, more aware, more present. I practiced speaking more softly, not because I had to, but because it felt natural. I caught myself smiling at small things, warm light, familiar music, the comfort of quiet. And with every discovery came a question. Is this who I've always been? On weekends, my wife joined me. At first, just sitting nearby, watching with a mix of curiosity and affection. Then offering advice. A scarf here. A different color there. Each small gesture felt like permission, not just from her, but from myself. We went out together one afternoon, nothing fancy. Just a walk, coffee, sunlight. I was nervous, acutely aware of every glance, every reflection in shop windows. But something unexpected happened. No one stared. Or maybe they did, and it just didn't matter anymore. A barista complimented my outfit. A stranger held the door open and smiled. Small victories, but they stacked up, building a fragile but growing confidence inside me. The confrontation came when I least expected it. A family gathering. Laughter. Questions. Eyes lingering just a little too long. I stood there, heart pounding, feeling the old instinct to shrink, to hide, to explain myself away. But then I felt my wife's hand slip into mine, warm and steady. And in that moment, I made a choice. I'm still me, I said, voice trembling but clear. I'm just more honest now. Silence followed. Then questions. Some awkward. Some kind. None of them fatal. I survived it. More than that, I grew. Today, when I look in the mirror, I don't flinch. I see someone who faced fear and didn't turn away. Someone who allowed curiosity to lead instead of shame. Someone who learned that identity isn't a straight line, it's a journey, full of detours, surprises, and moments of breathtaking clarity. If you're listening to this and feeling that same quiet pull, that same confusion mixed with hope, know this. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to rush. You don't have to walk alone. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is look at yourself honestly, and stay. And if transformation finds you along the way, maybe it's not the end of who you were. If part 1 was about realizing something was happening to me, then this was about realizing there was no turning back. The pills didn't just change my body. They changed the way the world touched me. I noticed it first in the smallest moments. A sad commercial on TV made my throat tighten. A song I'd heard 100 times suddenly made my eyes burn. Even frustration felt different, less explosive, more heavy, like a knot in my chest instead of a spark in my fists. And the scariest part? I didn't hate it. One evening, while folding laundry, my wife looked at me and said softly, "You feel closer lately." Like, emotionally closer. I froze with a towel in my hands. Closer. Not distant. Not wrong. Closer. That night, when I changed for bed, I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. My waist looked subtly narrower. My chest, still small, was undeniably sensitive. My movements had softened without me trying. Even the way I tilted my head felt unfamiliar. I pressed my palms to the mirror and whispered, "Who are you becoming?" The answer didn't come in words. It came in a feeling. Someone honest. The next disruption hit harder, my voice. At work, I was mid-sentence during a meeting when I heard it. A slight lift. A gentler cadence. Not high, just different. My manager blinked, then continued like nothing happened. But I heard it. The rest of the day, I barely spoke. I nodded, smiled, typed emails instead of walking over to desks. Every word felt like it carried weight now, like sound itself could betray me. When I got home, my wife noticed immediately. "You're quiet," she said. "I don't sound like myself anymore." She studied me for a long moment, then said something that changed everything. "Maybe you're just hearing yourself clearly for the first time." That sentence echoed in my head all night. The secret exploration deepened after that. It wasn't just clothes anymore, it was behavior. The way I sat on the couch, legs tucked in instead of spread. The way I gestured when I spoke, wrists loose, expressive. The way I cared, deeply, instinctively, about tone, emotion, connection. Late one night, alone in the bedroom, I tried something terrifying. I let myself pretend, just for a moment, that I was allowed to be feminine without apology. I stood differently. Walked slowly. Let my shoulders relax instead of holding tension like armor. I caught my reflection mid-step and felt my breath hitch. I didn't look ridiculous. I looked natural. A quiet laugh escaped me, half disbelief, half relief. And then came the fear. What if this goes too far? What if I lose the person I used to be? But another thought followed, softer yet stronger. What if I finally meet them? The first time I went out alone like that, really out, I almost didn't do it. My wife had gone to visit a friend. I stood by the door, keys in hand, heart pounding so loudly I was sure the neighbors could hear it. I wasn't dressed dramatically. Just soft jeans, a loose top, subtle grooming. Nothing that screamed anything. Still, it felt like stepping onto a stage. Outside, the world didn't explode. Cars passed. People walked by. Life continued. At a small cafe, the cashier smiled and said, "What can I get you?" Then paused. "I mean, sorry." "It's okay," I said gently. And I meant it. I carried my coffee to a corner table, hands trembling, not from shame, but from adrenaline. From being seen and surviving it. When I got home, I sat on the bed and laughed until I cried. The confrontation I feared didn't come as anger. It came as concern. A close friend pulled me aside one weekend and said, "You seem different lately. Happier, but also like you're carrying something heavy." I wanted to lie. I almost did. Instead, I told the truth. Not everything, but enough. There was a long pause. Then they said, "I don't fully get it. But I care about you. That hasn't changed." Something inside me unclenched. By the time I reached the mirror again, weeks later, I didn't ask who I was becoming anymore. I asked something braver. "What do you need to be whole?" The answer wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was steady. Permission. And for the first time in my life, I gave it to myself.